I'm Tim Coyle from Signal Bytes Technology, and welcome to my video series on designing an Internet of Things product. So I put this video series together to chronicle my journey on creating an Internet of Things product from start to finish. So what I'm going to do is every Monday I'm going to put up a video of the work I did the previous week and talk about my challenges, my successes, and things that worked and things that didn't work. So I think it'll be a pretty interesting series to see, and you can kind of follow along and see how I designed something from start to finish. So let's talk about some of the project goals that I put together on this. So what I want to do is just start out with an idea and then move on to sort of a specification of this product. And really that's going to fall into creating a proof of concept. So the idea of a proof of concept for me really is to have something that I can make pretty quickly, so I don't want to spend months of time on this. I want to get it done pretty fast so I can figure out if it's really going to work or not. And then if I'm happy with the proof of concept, then what I'll do is I'll go right to a prototype. Now sometimes a proof of concept is a prototype, but it depends on how much more advanced features or technology I need to do with that. So that's kind of the flow of kind of designing the product. And then the other piece of it really is once you have a prototype is how do you really turn that into a product and what are you going to do with it? So for me, the way I think of it is once I have the prototype, I'm going to kind of go in this feedback loop where I'm going to test the prototype and I'm going to modify the prototype. And I'll keep doing that until I'm happy with it that I think I can move it to the next phase or really move it to the next level of trying to turn it into a real product. And in terms of this video series, really I see there's four options that are going to happen of me trying to make something. The first one's probably the one that's the most realistic option, is that I'll make something that's pretty useful for myself, I'll open source the hardware and software, and hopefully other people will find it useful too. The other thing that could happen is maybe I'll end up selling it as a product kit. People might like it, but they don't want to take the time to make it themselves. They might not have all the technical skills to do it. So I could put together a kit and give it to them, sell it to them, and they could make it themselves. The third thing is you could always try and do crowdfund, start a Kickstarter. I think for that to happen, well, obviously this video series have to get pretty popular, have to be a lot of people following me and interested in seeing this as a real product. The fourth thing, which, I'd say less than 10% is someone sees this and, wants to give me millions of dollars and start a company making this thing, which, that wouldn't be a bad idea. So with that in mind, in terms of, how I'm going to make this product and how I'm thinking of doing this is kind of how I was thinking of setting up this whole video series. And then of course during the week I'll put up some articles and blog posts on my website that'll get into more of the details of designing different things. So in terms of figuring out what I'm going to make and how I'm going to start making it, I'll spend the rest half of this video talking about that. So let's talk about development platform. So obviously we're going to need some electronics, we're going to have to write some software, we're probably going to need some sensors. Right, if you want to make an Internet of Things, if you want to make something that's going to sense your environment and read the data back to you and put it up on a screen. So I think for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with our Arduino ecosystem. I'm going to do this for a couple of reasons. One is it's easy to get started with. Two, there's lots of support. There's a big ecosystem for it. Three is I'm already pretty familiar with programming and I've done different projects with it. So I think that's what I'm going to start with. It's what I have available. Another thing to keep in mind is sometimes people choose technology stacks or development platforms that are more complicated than they might need. For me, if an Arduino is going to work for my idea, then I can stick with that. There's tons of commercially available products that use an Arduino-based product in it. So you don't necessarily have to have a full embedded design from a semiconductor manufacturer or well-known microcontroller developer. But that's not to say that the Arduino is going to work for me. And this is one of the things we're going to find out. Come to find out, it might have limitations maybe in trying to achieve low power or in terms of speed or necessary required memory. So maybe we'll have to go to a full embedded platform like the PIC microcontrollers for microchip. So that'll be kind of fun. We'll see what happens to the product development as I go along. So really the last thing to talk about is the idea, right? So what am I going to do? So this is what I came up with. What I decided to do is to try and make a pool monitor. Now the thing is I've got an above ground outdoor swimming pool. It's a nice pool. But the thing is, if you have a pool or if you ever swam in a pool, is, there's chlorine in it. You got to have ways to treat the pool so that the water quality is swimmable. It doesn't have to be chlorine. There's different filtration systems that we can get into later on. So what I decided is I would try and make a pool monitoring system. Okay, so this is my above ground pool. It's about a 24-foot pool. And so one of the things about having a pool is you got to maintain the pool chemicals. So you have to know what the pH is. You have to know what the chlorine level is. That way you know when to add more chlorine and when to add other chemicals. And so right now with this pool it's all manual. So you can get like these pH strips or these chemical strips, and then you got to put it in the pool, and then you got to measure it, and then you got to look to see. And it's just sort of this guide, this rough guide on what your chemicals are, and you got to constantly do this, and you keep a little logbook. And also you don't know what the temperature of your pool is. So that's what I want to try and solve with the pool monitor, is to see if we can automate this and turn this into kind of a Internet of Things product and make it easier to use and make it automated so you can swim in your pool whenever you want. Up with an idea is kind of that standard, scratch your own itch or solve your own problem. Sometimes if you end up coming up with a really good solution for a problem you're having, chances are that other people are going to want it too. Now I will say that there's a lot better other resources out there on how to do market research and how to come up with a product there. There's some great books, and I'll let you guys go and have fun reading those. But for me, I'm going to kind of fast track this so I can get into the development stuff that I really like to do. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to try and solve our problem of how do we know when we need to add chemicals to our pool and what the water quality is, so that we can kind of make it autonomously run by itself and just let us know when I need to add chemicals and that everything's okay with it. So if I go on to some of these design decisions, so here's a couple of things that I've decided that I want right up front, and again this will help me streamline this project a little bit. So the first thing is I decided is I want to have a built-in display screen. So one thing that I'm imagining is sort of having this unit hang off the side of the pool, and I'll have some probes and sensors that are inside the pool water, and then the piece that hangs off the side of the pool could have a screen, maybe some buttons for user interface, but most of the screen to alert the user what's going on. It could say, the pool water's good, or you need to add chemicals, what's the temperature. I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. One reason is, I'm thinking if you're outside and you're walking around the pool, you might not necessarily want to have your mobile phone with you. I know everybody's got a cell phone these days, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to want it outside when you're walking around the pool or jumping in and out of the pool. Another reason is, if I think about there could be other people around the pool, you could have your family, your friends, kids, and they might want to know what's in the pool. So this way multiple people wouldn't have to have like an app on their phone. So I think we'll start off with kind of a standalone unit first. And I think that would be the best way to go. Now we're going to add some internet connectivity to this going forward, add Wi-Fi or Bluetooth so we can send alerts or people can check in on it from away. But again, I think it's best to start off with the simplest design you can. And so that really falls into the internet connectivity, which is my second item for the design decisions. Again, is I really want to focus on measuring the pool quality. I want to focus on the software censoring part of it first, because I want to make sure that the core of it is a product. You see this happen a lot where people come up with an idea and they're like, oh, okay, so I'm going to, I'll use a classic example you see a lot of people use, I'm going to add a Wi-Fi chip or internet connectivity to my toaster, and end up adding it for no other reason just to say that your toaster can, send you a tweet when your toast is done. Now maybe that's your product and you can sell millions of those on Amazon or QVC or whatever, but lots of times it just ends up falling by the wayside. So don't sacrifice, trying to, I'll call it appify your design, just to be popular or be in vogue. Focus on the core principles first, and let's make a good product, make something that solves your problem from the beginning. And the last thing is I'll talk about the packaging. So this is going to be, I think, pretty important. Is how am I going to attach this unit? How is it going to be able to have sensors and things in the pool water, and how is that going to work? And so one idea I had already, and I'll probably do a whole other video on packaging and some different design ideas, is you can get these plastic floating, I call them bobbers, right, because they bob up and down on the water, but there's a piece that extends in the water, and that's where you can put, like chlorine tablets or baking soda tablets. So what I could do is essentially, put my electronics, my Arduino or whatever on the top side that's in a waterproof container, make some holes and then have some probes and sensors sit in that water. And when I'm talking about modular is you could imagine this bobber could be floating freeform in your pool, but what I want to do is I want to have an arm that hooks it to the side. So I want to have it attached to the side of the pool at first. One reason I'm thinking about this way I can have power directly to an outlet outside and not have to worry about making this battery, wirelessly operated right from the beginning. Because if it's just floating around the pool, you're going to have the battery that gets recharged. Now maybe in the second phase of it, what I could do is do that where it's battery operated, and then when you plug it into this arm, it starts recharging it because it's already plugged into an AC outlet. So you can see I'm trying to think of a modular package design here that'll allow me, to change my mind and also change my mind as I go along depending on any technical constraints that I run into. So I think that's going to be it for my ideas in terms of what I want to fast track and what I want to set are some of my requirements. So that's it for right now for this week. This is my idea, and so we're going to try and make a pool monitor that's going to make it autonomously tell me what's going on with my water quality and when to add chemicals and when I'm good to go swimming in it. So I hope you are going to find this interesting and follow along. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, watch the blog, subscribe to that. I've got a newsletter. And like I said, I'm going to be posting stuff during the week, what I find out, issues I run into. And then each week I'll try and do a video like this where I can do a summary and talk about some of the major challenges and some of the things that I run into. And so I'd love to get your feedback. Send me your questions. Leave comments on YouTube or the website. And I'll try and do a Q&A session at each end of the week in the summary. And obviously I try and answer any of your technical questions you have, but also, if you have any business or marketing things or product designs, you're like, hey, why aren't you doing it like this? That'd be kind of cool. I'd love to hear your ideas. Maybe we can all learn together on, how to make a cool product and get it out there on the market. All right, till next week.